welcome to this Soul Force Music deep dive video on how to stop. How to stop. It's actually not too so far off the truth here, but maybe you can help me out.
Yeah, I can help you out. It's just stop just getting through your musical life and start playing like you mean it.
Yeah, memory blanks happen to all of us, right? Yeah. So how to stop just getting through your musical life, whether it's just like getting through a piece or getting through a gig or just that sense that your musical life has become a job
Yeah.
like any other, and how to bring some real meaning and joy back into that in a way that actually enhances your chops and maybe even your financial prospects and just makes you feel really great about what you do. Because that's why we get into playing music and not just like some crappy desk job. Opinion.
Judgment.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. And please do stick around for the whole video because it's really fascinating stuff. And then also at the end, we're going to talk to you about some of our free offerings that will help you feel better and practice better and release tension and pain. And also our fun, excellent course, which is related to our topic. So we'll get into all that. Okay. So we're going to lay some groundwork here, talk about what this is like for musicians. Like, what is it like to just get through your musical life?
Yeah.
And what's like there's this really powerful idea that we're going to be talking about that ties this whole thing together, and we'll talk about how to apply this to your life. It's called personal sovereignty. Like, what the heck is that?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So first, so this topic has like touches on so many different kinds of things. It could be that you're sitting in a gig and it's just totally lame, and maybe you don't even want to be there, and you're just playing the notes to get through it.
Yep. Yep.
And of course, that's not fun, and it's exhausting.
Yeah, and it's funny. And maybe it's even a gig that you thought that you were excited about, right? And then you show up, and then 20 minutes in, it's like, when is this thing going to be done?
Yeah.
What? Like, can I just go home and make my fucking frozen pizza? Right?
Yeah, or you're practicing something, and maybe it's something you actually care about, or maybe there's just that sense of stress about it. Like, I got to do this fast. I got to get this right, and maybe you're getting really tight and like really over intense, or maybe the opposite kind of thing is happening where it's just mindlessly getting through the piece. Neither of these feels really good. Like the super stressed, or the okay, I'm just gonna get through this blah blah. Neither of those really feel good, and like one of the big questions we're going to be asking is like, why did you become a musician?
Yeah.
Is this really in alignment with that spark of joy? And yeah, and so another example is just looking at your career overall.
Yeah.
Again, and seeing like, okay, it's just a job, and maybe it's a lot better than some crummy desk job, or not to knock on desk jobs still so much, but. I don't want a desk job.
Me neither.
Yeah, I want to do something creative.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it just totally sucks. Taking a look at what had so much promise of creativity and joy and meaning, and it's just a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we're going to be exploring today is this idea of personal sovereignty. And what that means is that you are in charge of yourself. And that has a whole bunch of different, you could apply that in a lot of different ways. And maybe that just sounds like a cliche, but think about this for a minute. If you are rushing to get somewhere, are you really rushing there because you want to be there quickly? Or are you rushing there because you think that somebody else's time is more important than yours?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not even that. You're just rushing and you don't even know why you're rushing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. Similarly, like when you're practicing, why are you trying to rush? It's like, why are you, like, let's say you don't even have anything on the plate for the day. Maybe the only thing you're supposed to do for the day is practice, and you still find yourself trying to just get through it. Even if it's something that you care about. Why? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Who? Nobody's telling you to do that. So what is it? What is it that you've internalized that is driving you to like to try to get through the thing that for each of us like we've decided to devote our whole lives to? Why are you trying to get through that?
Yeah, or maybe you have a particular kind of music career, a job of some kind, or maybe it's a freelance thing.
Yeah.
And still it feels kind of unsatisfying. And maybe looking back, you see that maybe you became a musician just to please one of your parents, at some point, And so all these are examples of living somebody else's story, basically. Not that this is totally what you do. Of course, you are in charge of yourself already. But taking a closer look at this can be surprisingly powerful.
Yeah.
So I'd like to paint a picture for what can happen for us as kids. So when we're little, of course, we don't know how this culture works. We don't know about time or getting things done or anything like that. And all those things are important, right? So being able to keep an agreement and show up someplace at a particular time, that's important for having a healthy life, right? And being able to complete a task, important for a healthy grown-up life. And at the same time, there can be the sense, what can happen is that there's a sense of stress around all of this that we inherit from our caretakers. And maybe they don't even mean to do this. We just pick up on the emotional vibe that says, "Oh, gotta get shit done." Apparently.
Yeah. So like I think of these examples of like if you've ever watched like a toddler take 20 minutes to put on their shoes, it's not because they're trying to mess with you, right? They just there's not a sense. It's just like it's just gonna take this. This is so much fun. I just and. That so there's just it's not there. So yeah, and then the parent being like, all right, just come on, all right, put the shoes on, and so there's this, so there's this kind of overstepping of boundaries. Toddler doesn't know like, oh no, it looks like I did something wrong. I guess I don't know what maybe there's something wrong with me. I didn't put on my shoes fast enough.
Yeah.
So we inherit this stress. This got to get things done. Got to go do things.
Yeah, the time pressure. Yeah, it reminds me of a funny bumper sticker. Jesus is coming. Quick, we're busy. So it's like we have that inside us. Like we gotta hurry all the time, and it's just this emotional feeling more than like a cognitive or like an actual thought that you might be having.
Yeah.
And that can pervade everything that you do now. So you walk across the room more quickly than you need to. You practice faster than you need to, or you rush through what could be an enjoyable experience. I mean, gosh, I do that all the time. And you don't stop to smell the roses. That old cliche. And guess what? This is really important for music, though, right? Because music is all about that stop and smell the roses kind of situation where you're actually enjoying life. So some of the tension in your body actually comes from this kind of rushing around.
Yeah.
And if you have injuries and that kind of thing, this is really important to know.
Yeah.
That that rushing around mode is part of what keeps tension and pain in place.
The tension also comes from. I'm sure that I'm speaking from personal experience. When you notice, let's say you're giving a recital and you notice that your teacher's in the audience, right? And just imagine that scenario for a second. So for me, even as somebody who's done a lot of work listening to having an internal locus of like, I know what I want out of a performance, and honestly, it doesn't matter to me all that much whether somebody has an opinion one way or another. If I feel true in what I had an intention to do, connect with an audience, really play for my heart, make music in a way that feels really joyful, then it's fine. But even just thinking about that, like, oh, teachers in the audience, you might notice your whole body start to lock up, right? Why is that? Why is that? And why is it that so it's useful at some point, right? To trust your teacher about, you go to them because you want to learn whatever it is, a technical skill set. You want to learn how to play in a way that is at the top tier. But that is just a step on the journey towards what we're talking about in terms of sovereignty. So you might have this internalized teacher now at this point. That's always there, right? Always there, kind of lurking in your system. That's like, am I doing this right? Is this good enough? Is this technically proficient enough? And like, you want to be technically proficient, but ultimately, that's a step on the journey towards being an easy and free musician. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing something. There's like some little thingy. What is it?
Well, no, I think you're right. So one thing that comes up for me around this is that I guess what I want to make clear here is that there isn't a dichotomy between getting the notes right and getting your pieces learned and making a living and all these practical things that you need to do, and also personal sovereignty.
Yeah.
And freedom.
Yeah.
There isn't a dichotomy. It's more like once you have those things in place, great. Now you're an adult, and you can choose to be free. You can choose to choose. Yeah, it can be free. Excuse me, free to choose.
Yeah.
How you are when you do all these things.
Yeah.
You don't have to be stuck in those old stories of stress, because that's the real thing around all of this.
Something I realized that I actually love to do in these videos is speak to when it's like, if this is my skeptic, welcome to the Aaron Bigeleisen skeptic address of the Soulforce music videos, where it's like, and if you notice there's some deep resistance there, right, where it's like, well, where it's like, but I can't. I couldn't do that. Like, no. If you notice some resistance towards the idea of like still living the life that you live, but having it be, let's say, filled with a sense of timelessness, joy, creativity, and ease. Like, so welcome to that. And you might just wonder like why that resistance is there in the first place. And also, I'm welcoming you for the rest of this video to entertain that possibility that you could even live the life almost exactly on paper as it is right now, but it could be filled with a sense of timelessness, filled with joy in all of the musical endeavors that you do. It could be filled with a sense of ease and deep creativity, and your life may also change on paper as a result of allowing that, but it may not. It may simply be an internal transformation that happens.
Yeah. So I'd like to give some examples of what this might actually look like in nuts and bolts of playing music, and especially in terms of what career can look like overall. Yeah. So in practicing a piece of music, let's say, instead of the two options we talked about earlier of being really stressed and just getting through it, trying really hard, or just like whatever, mindlessly playing, what you might do is, especially for the more stressed mode, is to remind yourself that you are in charge of yourself, that you have plenty of time, even if you don't. Even if you don't have plenty of time, you get to choose the pace at which you do things. Yeah, because how you practice becomes how you perform, right? If you're practicing with a lot of stress, or you're practicing mindlessly, that's becoming how you perform. You're ingraining that further into your system.
Yeah.
And let's think about it. Like, what do you want an ideal performance to look like? To feel like? Probably not mindless playing. Probably not stressed out playing. Probably something more joyful and meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's the tie into like career and career thinking overall. Like, what kind of gigs you take, how much money you make, and like, well, why are you doing all of this? So what we are a big fan of is taking a look at this sort of 30,000-foot view. Like, why are you a musician? Is this what you were put here? If this is what you are put here on Earth, so to speak, to do, then remembering what you want that to look like.
Yeah.
And that is crucial, because then that can inform everything else that you do.
And like, if that sounds super fancy and highfalutin to you, like, this often looks so simple. It's so simple. Just like you're practicing, and you notice you're getting like this, right? You can just take 10 seconds. Yeah, you can just say, like, I have plenty of time. And you can also just imagine. You can imagine right now, and you might just write this down. Like, what would like an ideal practicing session feel like for you? Would it be rushed, harried, full of frustration, anger, shame? Like, do you actually want those to be a part of your practicing? And if the answer is no, then write down what it is that you actually do want.
Yeah.
Just by setting that intention, you will chart a different course for your life.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, let's say you have a gig, you got to commute 45 minutes to get there. What would an ideal commute look like? Do you want to be angry and rushed it's like, God damn it, traffic, and I got to get there? Or would you rather have a sense of, like, I've got all the time in the world, and like, it doesn't have to take any more or less time. It's just that quality of being. Can you just, like, okay, I got a commute to do. What could you enjoy the hell out of that commute? Is that a possibility?
And the reason why is because that's your life. This is your life. Take that in for a moment.
Yeah.
Commuting is a part of your life. Practicing is a part of your life. There can be an orientation that so many of us have, especially in the West, to just get there. Just get there. But when you arrive, are you actually able to enjoy that?
Yeah.
Or are you already on to the next thing, the next get there? I remember graduating from college. It was such a letdown.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah, I practiced so much and worked so hard, and finally got to graduation day, 4 long years of school.
Yeah.
It was such a letdown.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show how insubstantial these moments of getting there really are.
Yeah.
And the important thing here, and one thing that happens when you start to reclaim your personal sovereignty, is recognizing that these moments have transition, going places. This is your life too. This is your life too.
Yeah.
And if you want your life to be meaningful and joyful and rich, then these moments, the commute, the practicing the piece you don't really like, these can be moments of opportunity for these qualities as well.
Yeah, my challenge would be, even as you listen to us or watch, like, how do you want to be right now?
Yeah.
If you could just paint the most ideal picture of how you want to be, not to make yourself be a certain way, but just to write down in this, or just to acknowledge in this moment. Like, for me, I would love to feel open, joyous. I'd love to feel grounded. I'd love to feel connected. And here we go. Just in naming that, I feel some of those things start to come into my body. I feel easier in myself, and I feel more alive.
Yeah, so I guess there are two pieces to this. One is discovering for yourself what you want your life to actually look like. And be really, really clear, kind of careful here, not to let other people's ideas or cultural ideas into this discovery process. This is something like what you want on the innermost secret parts of yourself.
And that the easiest way to do that, for me, is simply to notice the quality. So it's like, if a thought makes you really tight, the odds of it being true are markedly less. Right? It's just, or that true inherently deeply in your soul. If you have an idea, like I don't know, whatever it is, like, oh, I got to get it done right now, and it makes your body super tense. oh, that might be true in the moment, but ultimately, like, what's the quality of being? What's the ideology, as it were, that's going to allow you to feel such a way that you're gonna feel most alive and be most true to like really taking care of yourself and what you are on this planet to do. Yeah, there's something that I'm. Tell me here. It's almost true what I just said. It's almost true. There are times when you need to rush. There are times when you need to rush, and there are times that you need to be like, I got to get it done. But it's more like, what is
Yeah,
it?
well, what are you orienting to overall?
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and are you conscious of what you're orienting to,
Mm.
or are you just again playing out the stressful shit you learned when you were a kid?
Mm. Mm.
So there's like a purpose discovery or meaningfulness discovery process, and you'll know like what do you know about your purpose right now? I don't know. Maybe you do, but one of the tools that you have, one of the compass, you have a compass. Like when you get freer in yourself and you become more alive, when you get more joyful, and you know that, oh, these are the qualities of my life that I want to have.
Yeah.
And then you begin to apply those qualities or inquire. Like,
That's right.
as I'm practicing, as I'm just walking across the room, as I'm making my coffee, as I'm talking with my mom, as I'm on stage, as I'm commuting. Are these qualities here?
Mm.
And they might be.
Yeah.
Look for them.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. So it's not bullshitting yourself,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, everything's fine. Like, oh, this is so much fun to be commuting on the Schuylkill. It's like, don't do that to yourself, please, for our sake and for your sake. It's not that. It's something about like my habitual way of looking in myself was basically like looking for things that were wrong with me that I needed to fix, right? And it's like looking for whatever it is. And if you look for things that are wrong, you'll find them. If you look for it's similarly, if you look for whatever it is, if your habitual way of looking for whatever it is in the world, or your habitual way of thinking is by rushing forward motion, gotta get there, that's probably what you'll find and probably what you'll live out. If you look for, and if it's in the quality, in the act of looking for joy in your life moment by moment, the odds of you discovering that and reinforcing that when it is there that's the process. It's simply the listening and looking and acknowledging that even in a moment that's really difficult, that there's still the capacity for you to feel joy, even in that moment when it's really hard. That's a thing. That's a damn good skill set to have.
Yeah. So being able to choose your timing as you go about your life, and to know what kind of qualities of life that you want. This is personal sovereignty.
And also, it's also acknowledging. So that's the like the deep internal factor.
Mm-hmm.
There is an external factor too, which is like if you are taking a gig and like,
right.
I've been in this experience where I've really tried. I've like something that so it's kind of short term, long term too. So let's say you take a gig. We've consistently taken a gig with an ensemble or something, and it always sucks. Nobody's prepared. People are late. The ensemble sounds like crap, and the conductor's mean. Like in that scenario, you can I've been in an experience where I can still choose to be joyful within myself, or listening for quality of joy, ease, spaciousness, playfulness, and also just acknowledging that like you should probably, if you don't have to take that gig, you should probably not take that gig. It's both things. I would say the most important factor is being able to, at all times, having a sense of trust and listening for the qualities that you want in your life. And also, you want to make that as easy for yourself as possible. So don't do things that make that really hard for you unless it's really worth it.
Right. So the fear here might be, well, if I don't take the gig, then I won't be able to pay my rent. And so that's a real fear.
Yeah.
And so you get to choose how you are in those gigs that you don't like. You get to choose your own timing to do things. You get to choose what you pay attention to, and what kind of quality of presence that you can bring to this gig to make it even a little bit better for yourself and the people around you. And there's also this piece around like when you discover what's really important to you. what kind of world you want to create, what really brings you alive. You might take the space or take the time, you might have some space to create something new. The whole music industry is changing so much, and it looks nothing like it did 50 years ago, when it was possible to get a decent orchestra job, and there were lots of orchestras that paid pretty okay, and or like be in a party band and make a decent living doing that. That just doesn't really exist anymore, and so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And how are we going to make a decent living, a dignified living, playing music? And I don't have the answer to that necessarily. But
not on a global scale.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. But you might.
Yeah.
And how are you going to know? How are you going to know what the next thing to do is that if it brings you alive, and when you know what brings you alive, you can shape something new. And what the world so desperately needs right now is people who have come alive. We can't go back to meaningless, like, sense of progress and just financial security at all costs. You can't do that anymore. It's killing the world.
Yeah, I want to outline a possibility, which I guess we've spoken to quite a bit already, but just to make it explicitly clear, like, what if there was a way of being and a space in the world? So let's say that there was this place where you have this, okay, I'm discovering this capacity to feel joy, ease, spaciousness, or whatever it is that you really want to feel alive and engaged in the world. And let's say that there was a way of making a living that would mesh with that capacity perfectly. Let's just allow for that to be a possibility. That instead of you having to either make the choice of being like totally financially destitute and playing gigs that really make you feel good, or having to choose a life of safety and security and feeling like this kind of sense of soullessness. I'm speaking to my own, having made both of those choices at different points in my life, or feeling like I had to make one of those two choices. And what if there was this place where your joyfulness and your gladness, what's that quote? It's like, yeah, the place where...
Yeah, purpose is where your deepest gladness and the world's needs meet.
Yeah. So what if that was possible? What if the things that you love to do more than anything else in the world and would mesh perfectly with some section of the world that desperately needs you? Just what would that be like? And what if that could pay pretty well?
Yeah. So check the time here, sorry.
Sure, that's fine.
Oh yeah, okay. So let's bring this home a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd like to do another video on this because there's a lot I want to say, and I'm not quite sure we really hit home. But maybe something of all this has spoken to you. Okay, so this is a quote. It just really is something we keep coming back to. It's so important. Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. Instead, ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I really, really believe this, especially now when there's so much crisis and catastrophe and more to come in the world. Are you going to continue playing out the old patterns of being? The old ways of doing things that have gotten us to where we are? Or are you going to claim your personal sovereignty? Even just a little bit. Even just remembering that you can play a phrase in your own timing once. That, in itself, changes the world. Introduces a little bit more aliveness into yourself and into the world. And even though it's not a very big thing, it's what you can do while still honoring, yeah, this thing that you do, like playing music. You can play music and help the world by becoming more alive in yourself. Yeah. So please do that. Please do that. And we have, we have a tool that you can use. Yeah, a couple of them actually, to help yourself begin doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's we have a free course on 5 simple techniques to help yourself relieve pain, release tension. Very easy things to do that are surprisingly effective. And so you begin to take care of yourself better and feel better while you're practicing. So please do sign up for that. You'll find the link below. And even just doing that, if that helps you become more alive in yourself, awesome.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it one step further, if you want the single most important skill for, again, releasing pain and tension, but also increasing your personal sovereignty, then you might want to check out our new course, The Magic Pause. The Magic Pause is, for all those times where you get tight when you don't really need to. And, especially for musicians with injuries, like this is the thing. If you learn one skill, it's this.
Yeah.
To help relieve those injuries once and for all. And if you're interested in, increasing your personal sovereignty, it's like how do you actually begin to make that change? Like, where's the lever point where you can, whatever you might call that, begin to move the world, to move your life. Like that lever point right there, that's the magic pause.
Yeah. Yeah. So what this skill will teach you is part of it anyway is it's that moment, discovering that there is a moment in which you can make a radically different decision.
Right.
And it can be a decision about how you want to be in the world and the action that you want to take. And this skill, this course, will give you that capacity. It will give you that capacity to discover that moment, that magic pause, that magic moment, where you can choose a radically different course. Whether it's in the practice room, you continue to get tight time and time again for that tricky passage. This is the skill that's going to give you the capacity to undo all of that tension and discover a radically more free, radically more beautiful sound for that tricky passage. But it's also for when you have to make a big musical decision or something like that. It's like, oh, so I just got offered this job, but I really love my freelance career. How do I make this decision? This is also a skill set that will work on that level. And if you don't believe us, well, give it a try. Give it a try and let us know.
Yeah, and we do offer a 30-day guarantee on it, so you can check that out.
Yeah.
Again, there's a link below.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and if you sign up before the end of the month, this is May 2021, you get access to a free live masterclass with the two of us on the Magic Pause.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool perk. Please do check that out.
Yeah, so feel free to like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you can check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can check out our podcast channel. And reach out to us. Like, if something really spoke to you about this video, like, this is what we love to do. We love to talk about this,
yeah.
all of this. So if something speaks to you about this, just reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Okay?
All right. Very good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.